3, 2, 1, let's go.
It's time to dive beneath the surface and into the minds and hearts of your favorite celebrities and pop culture icons. Welcome to Up and Adam.
Hey, guys, welcome back. And look who I have again with me. Hi, RJ. How are you?
Hey, love. I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be back. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited. This has been what I've been looking forward to all week. You know, it's interesting because I come on here and I probably do like 10 to 15 of these shows a week, but this by far was my favorite one last week. So I was really looking forward to it this week.
I was totally looking forward to it as well. I'm so happy to be back. Thank you.
Yeah, part 2 of the reunion, Real Housewives of Potomac. We're back to recap it together. I do have to say too, you know, having you on last week and just all of the comments and the feedback I was getting, and trust me, YouTube and the people who watch sometimes can be ruthless and they do not lie. They just give it to you and people responded really well to you. So thank you for coming back.
Absolutely. I mean, I haven't even read the comments, but I mean, that's wonderful. That is wonderful because you're right. The internet period can be ruthless. So I'm just happy that the people are loving what we're doing.
Yeah. And guys, for anybody who's watching right now, you guys know how this works. We have 100 in the room. Go ahead, hit that like button. Let's get more eyes. RJ is RJ Allan of the Black Socialites. I'm now trying to convince RJ to make a YouTube himself. So hopefully I'll end up swinging him into the YouTube verse and we'll get him. You can keep your Instagram, but I'm just trying to sway you to come over to YouTube.
Yeah, no, I hear you, Adam. I mean, you know, I put some thought into it.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So with that being said, I say let's jump right in.
Let's do it.
All right. So this episode was interesting to me because I was waiting for the kind of build up to get to the Candace Monique drama, which we're going to get to at the end because that was probably the biggest hype of this episode. But in true Bravo fashion, they sit there and tease you with it, and then they don't give it to you until the end, and they leave you with a cliffhanger. I hate that.
Me too.
Okay. Well, we did start off this episode with a little bit about Ashley Darby, and we kind of did a reel back into her life with Michael Darby over the years on the Real Housewives of Potomac. And I have to say, just watching it, Michael Darby has carried this franchise on his back a lot with all of his infidelities and everything that he just is a cesspool for all things going wrong all the time.
Yes, absolutely. He really is. You know, I mean, the thing about it is, I love Michael. You know, with all the shenanigans and all the antics, despite everything that he has done, I don't know. You just gotta love him. He's a lovable character.
Well, and I think something that is at least, I don't know if I want to say admirable because people will rip me apart, but just something that I have to give to Michael Darby is when he's called out for it, for the most part, he kind of, I mean, he knows the cameras don't lie and he usually owns it. Right.
He does.
Oh, go ahead.
He owns it. Ashley and him, you know, they have some sort of understanding of their relationship, and everybody, we weren't privy to that at first, but that became more clear, especially this season, that they have an understanding of their relationship. They know what it is, and that's it.
Yeah, but I mean, it still doesn't make it any less like unconventional. This is a very unconventional relationship, but it makes me kind of question at this point in 2020, is it though? Is there such thing as an unconventional relationship anymore? Because it seems like everybody's swapping, flip-flopping, opening their marriages, giving their marriages away, then bringing them back. I just don't know if what is conventional anymore. And they're kind of the poster couple for that.
Well, the thing about it is that Ashley on the reunion last night said that her marriage wasn't open. She said that the marriage wasn't open, but she said that if her and Michael found, you know, people attractive, people with a broad stroke there, then they, you know, then they could pursue that. So I don't know. To me, that sounds sort of like an open marriage, right?
Yeah, I was about to say that's exactly what an open marriage is, kind of.
Verbatim, she was like, "We don't have an open marriage, but if we find people attractive, then," and then her face, you know, insinuated that they would pursue it. But on the opposite end, she also said that if he cheated, and I don't know if she meant this, if he, cheated and people found out publicly or privately, but she said if he cheated, then she would divorce him.
But do you believe that?
It's kind of hard to say. Like I said, like, I think if it was private and not public, I don't think that she would divorce him. I think that if he cheated and it was public, then yes, she would probably divorce him. Because I mean, she's on record with saying this. She said this, I think, twice. She said this on the reunion, and I think she also said it on Watch What Happens Live. So,
and technically, she said it at that old country-looking bar that Monique and Candace got into a fight, and when Dr. Wendy Osefo asked her what happens if this happens again.
Right. So I mean, so it's on record. So if she didn't, then it would just be like, girl, like what are you giving?
Yeah. So this is what's kind of interesting to me about Ashley Darby, though, because, she, or not even Ashley Darby, but Michael Darby, how are you continuously getting caught? And then Ashley Darby owns up in the reunion and she's like, listen, I've had my own kind of marital affairs too, where I went off and I committed infidelity and, he forgave me for that. Well, we never heard about that guy or girl. We never heard about anything about that. And she's the housewife. So how does he go around getting busted all the time?
It seems to me like, I mean, I hate to be, to use gender on this, but it seems to me like, from my experience and from what I know, it seems to me like men are a bit more messy when it comes to their cheating and dealing with people on the side than women are. But I feel like Ashley, she's so cognizant and aware of the cameras and of, her level of fame. She is very much in tune to what's going on, and she's very, very careful about it. That's why we haven't heard anything. But Michael, on the other hand, he's just, if you get a drink up in Michael, a few drinks up in Michael, everything else just falls to the wayside. So then it becomes messy. It becomes, like a circus. Like, I don't care. It is what it is.
Unfortunately, too, Bravo knows the trigger. He's been around enough. Yeah. And when they put you in a filming situation, 9 times out of 10, they are fueling you with alcohol if you'll take it. That's why Karen Huger sits on the side with her milk. And she's like, I'm not touching any of that.
Don't take the bait.
Yeah.
The killer right there. Those drinks, that's the killer. But yeah, Michael, we've seen Michael drink on the show, and he seems like a funny drinker or whatever. But still, once you drink to a certain extent, your senses are dulled, and I really believe that he goes all the way left.
I agree with that, and I do think that he is kind of a fun, flirty, drinker, but at the same time, there is something called your personal space. And obviously we see in this episode of the reunion where they referred back to a clip that they just came across from season 1 of him grabbing yet another butt of a producer.
Yes. And the interesting thing about that is, I mean, we know that Michael grabs butts, so we just got footage to show it, but we know that he grabs butts. The interesting thing about that is that Ashley really downplayed it to me. And she also said that that same producer whose butt he grabbed, would call him daddy. But according to the producer, he said that it was unconsensual. It wasn't consensual.
Right. And that's what Andy was trying to kind of pretty much say to Ashley, and Ashley's like, okay, I mean, she's kind of caught in a rock and a hard place at this point because she's trying to defend her husband. Her husband had a wedding to go to. He's not there to defend himself. And I don't know if you noticed the kind of trend here. Any of the husbands who have something to defend are not there to defend it. Juan's not there, Michael's not there, and Jamal's not there.
Lord Jesus.
This is just, but she does. Ashley Darby always sticks up for her husband, and she comes and she sticks up for Michael, kind of always in his corner. But one thing that I do have to say is now that, their prenup is over and it's pretty much expired, if I were Michael Darby, I would keep my everything to myself because she'll take him to the bank at this point.
Let me tell you, she definitely will. She definitely will. She made that. To me, it's been clear from watching the show that she definitely will, and won't have.
This is okay. Okay. Well, I also want to say really quick before we move on from Ashley Darby, guys, 310 in the room. Go ahead, hit that like button. Let's get more eyes in here. But when we're sitting there going over Ashley Darby's situation, the topic of Katie Ross comes up and allegedly hooking up with one of the Real Housewives of Potomac. So Andy thought, hey, it would probably be Ashley Darby because she's the one who dabbles in both ponds and also has not open relationship. So why not? But Ashley Darby says it's not her. Do you have any guesses on who you think it would be?
Actually, I actually kind of know.
Oh no.
I don't know if I should spill those beans.
Okay, you don't have to spill the beans, but I'm just gonna guess who I would have thought that it would have been, and then. Okay, I don't think it would be Robin. I don't think that it would ever be Giselle. She wouldn't let that guard down. I can't see it being Candace. I would just... Actually, I don't know. Guys, go ahead and guess who you think that Katie Ross would have hooked up with. Candace. People are saying Candace. Someone's saying Charisse. I think it was Robin. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Shannon Van is saying spill.
No, I'm not going to spill that. I'm not going to spill that.
Okay, all right. Don't spill it. We'll leave that for them to spill. But I like that you have some tea on the side that you're sitting on over there. That's nice. Some PJ tips over there.
No,
all right.
No.
So moving on really quick, I do want to say too, we were laughing so hard about this last episode because Karen is coming for Giselle any chance that she gets. She's not backing down. Yeah. And she ends up saying in this situation, on this part 2 of the reunion, she's like, yeah, you taught me well, as she's playing with her ponytail. She's shady, this reunion.
It's super shady. But can you blame her? Giselle has come for her neck from the beginning. Remember how Giselle at the first season, how she sat in the middle, at Karen's birthday party?
Yeah.
The dinner that they had, she sat in the middle. The birthday girl sits in the middle. Not the friend.
Yeah. No, and she, the tax reform. I mean, it's been a series of events that have led to this buildup.
I'm so proud of Karen this season. She has, rose to the occasion as she always does, and yeah, she's super shady, but with good reason.
She's kind of rose to the occasion and also roasted the occasion, just to be fair.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So I do want to point out here really quick, Tom Tim Entertainment, they said it's Charisse. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Charisse, a lot of people are saying Charisse. That's probably who I would have honestly guessed, but okay. Speaking of Karen though, really quick, we see in this episode how, I keep saying like an onion has layers, but when I was talking to Dr. Deb from Orange County, she said a rose is a better analogy. So Karen is like a rose with layers that we are peeling. And she's kind of coming out with each season of The Real Housewives of Potomac. We're getting to know her a little bit more. Yes. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And like she said last night on the reunion, she really wanted to keep a certain, she wanted to portray herself a certain way, especially while her parents were living. She didn't want to disappoint them. So, after they sadly passed away, she really, she really just started to, just be her complete self on TV and not worry about what people might think. So that's what you see on this season. And I'm proud of her. I'm proud of her.
I'm proud of her too. And I think that, a lot of people at first, and including myself, I was skeptical about this whole her and Ray not saying I love you or Ray not saying I love you and them having marriage problems. I was just thinking in my head, Karen, are you reaching for a storyline? But the more that this played out over the season, I really started to buy into it. Okay, you have this man who's used to being the center of attention, and Karen was a stay-at-home wife who sheltered him with affection and attention all the time. And now she's a busy businesswoman.
I mean, it's and on the reunion, it just kind of came full circle. You know what I'm saying? It kind of came full circle, at least for me, about the marriage. Like, these things happen. These things happen in marriages where, somebody might have been the breadwinner or whatever, and then all of a sudden now you got, your other partner, and now they're the breadwinner, and you have to be able to navigate this. So I'm just so happy that she opened up, her and Ray opened up and allowed us to see that. That's real deal stuff there. So.
Right. Well, I do have to say, though, there was one thing that I didn't necessarily agree with her on, and it's the fact that she wants the payback for the money. Even though she was laughing it off and she's like, I honestly, she said that she realizes, no, he doesn't owe me anything because he took care of her for so long. But the fact that there was that moment that she did think that he owed her something, does that baffle you a little bit, or do you agree with Karen?
It doesn't baffle me. What it does is it solidifies her authenticity to me.
Okay.
She's just being real. I will never, I would never frown upon or be baffled by, somebody that's being authentic. She said what she said. That's how she felt. But I know that at the end of the day, her loyalty is there, and you can't pay for that. Money cannot buy that. So whatever she says off the cuff, whatever, because that loyalty that she has for Ray, it's just, you can't pay for that.
Right. No, that makes sense. Okay. And then, moving on to, she ended up kind of getting caught in a rough space because Bravo won for a moment, and she did have a few too many drinks, and that's when she started kind of coming sharp off the tongue.
Yes.
And she had to go home and tell Ray everything that she said.
Yes.
And Robin's not letting up on this whole disdain for his I don't want to say that word on here, but the disdain for Ray's, did you think it was shady that Andy just jumps right in there and he looks at Karen and he goes, "Do you have a disdain for Ray's?"
I felt like, I didn't feel like it was shady. I felt like it was inappropriate.
Okay.
I cringed. And I felt like Andy probably realized after he said it that it was probably inappropriate as well, based off Karen's action, because I think what she replied to him as, I think she said, "That's disgusting." And I think after she said that, it really set in on him that, okay, maybe I shouldn't have asked that question. Andy's not perfect, guys. He's a host. He does his best. He's not perfect. But I really think that's one of the few moments where Andy probably regretted what he said, as far as like posing that question, because it was inappropriate.
Right. And we have to remember, too, everybody thinks that Andy is completely scripted on this, and he's not. And his cards are the questions and the topics to navigate him through the whole reunion. So he knows his next topic, and he knows, "Hi, we have a question from Julie from Salt Lake City." And then that's how he goes into the next kind of part of the conversation. But little moments like that where he comes off the tongue really quick, that's just, what do they call that? Impromptu?
And yeah, just going off the top of the dome, like they say. Just impromptu, but it doesn't always work in your favor. So you have to be very careful how you pose questions and what you say.
Okay, that's fair. And before we move on from Karen really quick, there was a moment here where we keep seeing, and it's actually a few moments where we see Robin come for her about the drinking the Fireball. And Karen dismissed her, and she said, "I was hungover, like I didn't really have time for that topic." And then also Robin comes for her the last part of the reunion when she says, "Oh, she took the Geritol at 6 a.m., kind of piggybacking off of Giselle's comment, because Robin is sort of a puppet sometimes like that for Giselle.
Definitely.
And then in this episode, we see again where Robin's like, "Who throws a housewarming party for a rented house?" It's like, ugh.
The thing is, I feel like Robin at this point, she has to throw shade. And, right now, Karen is catching it and some others. But let's, for the sake of the subject, let's stick to Karen. I mean, Robin is, a lot. I'm trying to be nice here. So most of the fans feel like Robin is a bore. She's a bore. Most of the fans, they feel like she's a follower. And, that right there is something that the producers, they pay attention to. So she has to sort of spice it up. And the only way she can is to come from, the antagonizer position, because she really has, her storyline is not that interesting.
Right. No, and I think it's fair to say you can look at any of these franchises and pick the weakest link of the franchise. And,
right.
Usually it's the one who, like you said, it's not the fan favorite. There's not really much that they're giving for a storyline. And I think Robin would be that person. But before we move on from this conversation, I'm curious, do you think it's pretty bold of Karen to be relentlessly going in on Giselle in this moment? She's not siding with Candace. She's really not siding with either, but she by not siding, she's drawn that line in the sand for Candace. So they're not going to come back from that relationship. She doesn't like Dr. Wendy Osefo, and Ashley Darby won't miss a chance to throw Karen under the bus. So aside from Monique at this point, if Monique were to be taken off of the show, Karen would have to eat a lot of crow. That's an expression that I use, but she would have to eat a lot of crow to kind of merge back in with the women.
I don't think I don't think personally that would be difficult. Karen always comes around to embrace the women. You know, she is like the mother of the group. They respect her no matter what. Yes, there has been some lines drawn, but at the end of the day, the ladies, they really do respect Karen. I mean, you could tell. So I think when she comes back around the mountain, when she comes, it will be able to accept her with open arms. I really do. I don't feel worried about that.
Okay. So you think, though, that, I mean, it's interesting that you say that they respect her, because I can see where they have this like for her, especially they explained it in this part of the reunion where they were just like, she's really fun and we don't understand the side of her that we get filming because she wouldn't really give us her true authentic self, as opposed to how great she is when she's not filming. But it just seems like, especially Giselle and Robin, they live to go in on Karen. She's just an easy target.
They do. I mean, you know, and they're the Green Dot Bandits. And that's one of the things that works for Robin in her favor, is that, you know, she has this duo thing going on with Giselle. But an example of camaraderie, if you will, and respect for Karen is like right when they got into the parade, you know, in Karen's town, right before they talked about that, her and Giselle were having a little spat and, you know, they were shading each other. But then once they got into that storyline, you know, Giselle kind of, you know, reverted back and was just like, yeah, like it was great to see Karen, you know, open up, and this is the side that I want everybody to see, that kind of thing. So to me, that lets me know that there's love there, and she'll always be embraced by these women because they have a respect for her at the end of the day. It's just, you know, that's what it is.
Right. No, I agree with that. Okay, that's fair. Yeah. And moving forward then, you know, I think Karen, again, I think that, you know, she's opening up more and more. So I do love that. And I don't think that we will be getting rid of her for next season. I think that they'll definitely keep her around for sure. But we do have this little kind of throwback to Karen and T'Challa. Everybody hates T'Challa.
I don't know why, because T'Challa is a star. T'Challa is a star. So they're gonna have to get used to it. They're gonna but he'll fly. He gonna fly to one of their homes. He's gonna fly to one of their homes.
Well, he did fly away, you know, supposedly for 26 hours. And I thought it was interesting too, because, well, I thought a lot of things in this episode were interesting. And I try not to harp on the Candace Monique thing too much, but it's like what we were given for this season, season 5 of The Real Housewives of Potomac. So we have to talk about it, obviously. But every time that something comes up with Monique, are you catching the side eyes, the rolled eyes, the looking away, the yawning? Like it's pretty extra.
It's bad. You know, and I really caught the shade from Candace. You know, it seemed like every time Monique was trying to speak, every time she was trying to say her piece, 80% of the time you have Candace on the side, you know, making remarks and, you know, just having a rebuttal. And I just found that so odd, especially because she was supposed to be so traumatized. She's putting up sticky notes, you know, she's doing this, she's doing that because she's so, you know, shooken up. But yet you're continuing to antagonize the situation. You haven't seen Monique in almost a year. You know, it's been almost a year since you've seen her or been in the same room with her in person. But yet you keep poking the bear. And I just, you know, personally thought to myself, like, in my head, like this little example, like if a year ago, if I go to the woods and I want to take a picture, you know, of wildlife, and I see some bears and I see some cubs out there, and I try to get close to take pictures of the cub, but almost get mauled. A year after that, of almost getting mauled, you know, trying to take pictures of these cute cubs, do you really think I'm going to go back and do the same thing and risk getting potentially mauled again? To me, that's sort of what Candace did. Like, she waited a year afterwards. She's seeing Monique. She's antagonizing her at the reunion. I don't get that. That to me doesn't strike me as someone who is traumatized. I got to be honest. It does not strike me as somebody who's traumatized. It strikes me as somebody who's really fueled up, who is, you know, ready to get back into the heat of the moment again. I don't know. That's odd to me.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And it's something that Monique pointed out. You know, she's supposed to be traumatized, but she's over here kind of antagonizing a little bit. But before we move on and not move on, I pointed this out to my fiance last night when we were watching this. And by the way, guys, 150 in the room. Go ahead, hit that like button. Let's see if we can get to 900.
Yeah.
But did you see how the set was placed? And I don't know if it was strategically placed this way to create kind of space between Candace and Monique, and they would have to run around that whole kind of planter thing in the middle in case, God forbid, something did happen, or if it was just a design of a set.
I think it was just the design of the set. I mean, the ladies were, you know, spaced out, you know, to social distance. And I really believe that they wanted to, you know, have some fillers in to make that look pretty and not too strange. So That's what I think. I think it was just by design.
Okay. Now I'm going to be watching for Real Housewives of Atlanta and some of these other ones too, and Salt Lake City, because I better see a break in the middle of the set for all of these other women, because I don't know if I'm buying this, but we'll see. Now, going back, you know, Andy tries to kind of get to the root of why Monique and Candace got to this place in the first place. And they did this whole reel to play back their friendship, the ups, the downs. They've obviously, you know, almost got into it before when Monique was pregnant, and then they get into it this time. It was kind of interesting to watch. It wasn't hard to watch, but it was interesting. Yeah. And Monique comes from the place of, I looked at her like a little sister, and she knew that Charisse, by bringing Charisse around, Charisse was spreading these, what Monique is saying are lies, with her ex-friend Gigi. She knew by bringing her around and not telling her that would create some sort of issue. Right. Now, Candace is saying, I don't see how this would be an issue, and I wasn't even thinking about you on my 1-year anniversary. What are you talking about? But I feel like with a show, a reality TV show, especially when Karen points out the fact that after Andy's baby shower in Los Angeles, they had dinner and they start talking about this. I've worked for a housewife. I've been around the housewives. I know when you go into a show like this, in order to maintain your position, you better know what your storyline is going into the next season. You better have a clear idea of what you're doing and the direction you want to take. Because if you don't, the other housewives are going to pave that path for you.
Right. Absolutely.
So do you feel like Candace did know that would have been a problem? Or do you think that she could have easily overlooked the fact that Charisse coming to her 1-year anniversary party wouldn't have bothered Monique?
Yes, I do think that Candace did that purposely. She made a tremendous effort to befriend Charisse, which we all heard from Ashley on the reunion last night say. And she knew the issues that were deeply rooted between Monique and Charisse. She knew. So I felt like it was calculated. And yes, I think Monique, she did pose a picture with Charisse like once, and it was for the sake of the picture, not because they had, you know, reconciled or, you know, rectified their you know, what was going on. It was just for the sake of the picture. And in Potomac, that's what you do sometimes. You know, you have to take pictures and do events, and you might see people that you don't like. But
and just to be fair, it's not just Potomac. It's, you know, Teresa Giudice and Caroline Manzo did a Super Bowl commercial with each other. They don't like each other. Right. You know, there's so many other housewives that for the sake of the photo, people have to remember this is a job.
Right.
These are these ladies' jobs.
Right, exactly. No, I believe Candace definitely did know. She knew. And like I said, she wasn't friends with Charisse before, but she made the effort to befriend her because she knew that Charisse wasn't going to be on for for season 5, but she wanted to have, more than enough for her storyline for this season. So, Candace, she knew.
See, and that's so interesting to me too, because if I were Candace, I would think that I would want to kind of not gang up, but kind of buddy up with one of the housewives, not a former housewife who's trying to make her way back in. I would just I would have gotten with Monique and I would have been like, hey girl, who are we taking out this season? What are we doing? Not the other way around. And she chose a former housewife to kind of, that baffles me.
Well, that's the thing. Like, that lets you know a lot about Candace's character, and I'm not surprised. Coming from her, I'm just not surprised.
Okay.
At all.
Well, one thing I was surprised about, and this isn't, again, I'm not throwing any shade at all here, but when we did a flashback to Monique's former friend, Gigi, she seems like a beautiful woman. She seems like she, I don't know too much about her. I don't want to say anything, but she doesn't seem like a housewife. So the fact that this woman was trying so hard to kind of Lisa Rinna her way in and take out real friendships that she actually had, like she had a real friendship with Monique in order to get on the show, I don't think she fits the mold of the show to begin with.
She definitely doesn't fit the mold of the show. She definitely had some motives that weren't good. She definitely was the person who brought the rumors about Monique and this trainer and the paternity of the baby. She brought these rumors to Charisse. Charisse brought the rumors to Giselle, and Giselle tried to bring this to the producers. This is why the disdain for Giselle, because she's actually on the show, is so great, because she knew that all of these rumors, she knew that it was horrible, but yet she wanted to bring it to production because she seems to be the bone collector of the show.
I mean, you could call it both.
Yeah, and they didn't want to touch it. The producers didn't touch it.
I wouldn't blame them, but Tom Tim Entertainment said Charisse ran up to take the pics with Monique. Kyle told me that Charisse does this for optics.
Oh yeah.
What is optics?
So basically, it's a mixture between basically clout.
Okay.
Clout. Basically clout. Yes. Yes.
All right. So Charisse has been known for this.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, come on now. She's all in season 5 with no mic, trying to be up in the scenes and everything like that. It's just like, girl, what are you doing? Like, if I was off like the season and not being paid, but I was a former housewife, I would not appear at all. Like, let the people miss you. Give us some time to miss you. So then, then like later on down the seasons, we can say, oh, what about so-and-so? Girl, you giving us no time to miss you.
Honestly, that's like, Sheree Whitfield, she showed us that, or not Sheree. I don't know how I just butchered that, but Sheree, Kenya showed us that when she didn't come back for a second. It's like, yeah, unless they mic you, I agree with you. Let us miss you. And guys, 1,000 people in the room. That's insane. Go ahead, hit that like button. Yeah, 1,013. We have people who love you, RJ.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, see, I'm telling you, we're going to make you a YouTube.
Oh my God.
All right. So 1,013 in the room, guys. Thank you so much for the love. I want to keep this going, though, because you mentioned something that, it makes sense. There was a moment, and I'm just saying from my personal experience, I was around a show that was filming one time on Bravo, and I put myself right into the situation because I thought that is what you're supposed to do. I was 20 years old, and I sat right in the middle of a whole cast that was mic'd, and I was actually friends with this cast, So I thought, why not? Just there were cameras around, and I didn't think anything of it, but they actually stopped filming. Producers came over and asked me to remove myself from the situation. That way they could pick up filming, and they made them say everything that they just said all over again while I was out of the shot. Now, I was watching when Robin got proposed to, when they were sitting there around the couch right before Michael Darby and Chris Bassett got into their altercation, I guess we can call it. But Charisse is sitting right in the middle of the couch. And then when Karen walks up, Charisse is like, oh, I'm going to go get a drink. I was like, oh, I know that. That means producers somebody came over and just grabbed you and said, you need to get out of the shot. And that's embarrassing.
That is so embarrassing. She should be like in a corner and wondering why she would do something like that as an adult. Like, move on, honey. Yes, let me just state some facts because I'm not a hater. She is the nucleus of the show. The show, when it first started, it was based around Charisse. These are facts. She is the nucleus to the show. But honey, you were less than the fan favorite. Move on.
But I'm actually surprised that, just to be fair, I'm surprised that I wouldn't put her above or below Robin. And I'm just curious how Robin's able to secure 5 seasons of the show. It must be because Giselle fights for her to stay on, because I don't know how.
I think so, Adam. And like I mentioned earlier, I believe, that Green-Eyed Bandit dynamic definitely working in her favor, and her getting engaged to Juan, was something that worked into her favor, and as well as her little side comments. I really feel like Robin is so boring that she could be on the show and really not comment on anything and would be fine. But she can't do that because this is the Real Housewives of Potomac. So she has to say something. But I believe that she could actually get through the whole entire season and just be like, we just get faces,
Yeah, but the problem is too with Robin, before we go back to all of this, with Robin, she always chimes in, but she always chimes in on content that is being created from another housewife, but she never really creates any content for the housewives.
It's almost like she's a host on the show.
Well, she would be a better friend of.
Yeah, totally. But you're right. I believe that Giselle fights for her behind the scenes. Like, no, please, let's get her off another season. Please. She'll do. So we have so many other fabulous ladies that would rock Potomac's world. Trust me, I know.
See, and I would love to see some of the. I want to see a new housewife with a lot of money come in and just really not care. And
Yeah.
Dr. Wendy Osefa was not that for me this season.
Yes. Let me tell you something, Adam. I want you as well. I would love to see, another housewife from Potomac come in and just not care about what anybody has to say about her. I really want to see that, and I really hope that the producers are watching and that they take our advice. I post on my own page some of the fabulous women here in Potomac and in the DC area. So they're here. They're out there.
Yeah, it can't just be these few ladies and then that's it. Then there's nobody else to look into. I agree with you. There has to be somebody else. But
if Robin was taken off, could you imagine? Like, if Robin, I'm not trying to, say that I hope that she loses her job or anything, but I'm saying this from a place of excitement. Like, if Robin was not on the 6th season and Giselle had to stand alone by herself, essentially, how great would that be?
They kind of need her to. I just did an interview with Kim D from Real Housewives of New Jersey. Do you remember her? She was like one of the biggest instigators.
So no, I didn't watch.
Okay. So Kim D, she was just known for constantly instigating situations, causing fights. And she told me in the interview, she's like, hey, listen, I'd way rather be known as the villain than the victim. And I was like, okay, so she just owns it. But she made a statement about one of the housewives and how her sister-in-law, who's also on the show, needs to go because they always gang up on everybody. And this one housewife would be a lot more interesting if she had to kind of stand up for herself. Now, I feel the same thing about Giselle and Robin. Giselle can heavily rely on Robin to have her back at all times. And she doesn't need to blend in with the group because she can just stand there and know that Robin is going to be a yes man to anything Giselle says. And when she walks out of the room, Robin will walk out of the room. It's like Giselle has that. But take away that safety blanket, she has to try.
Now that is good TV. I would love to see that. Like I said, I'm going to say it again. I don't want anybody to lose their jobs or their livelihood. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying this from a place of a producer's angle, a place of excitement. That would be interesting to see.
Right. And I always say this too. Again, I even said this when I did the video about Candace, because like I said, when I did my interview with her, she was nothing but sweet to me. I just, and you never want somebody to lose their job or their livelihood. This is how they pay their bills. They feed their family. That's not the case. But again, from a producer's cap of watching the show and keeping it entertaining and keeping the viewers, I honestly think we could go without Dr. Wendy Osefo and without Robin. I think Candace offers a lot of chaos to the show, just like how Kelly Dodd offers to the Real Housewives of Orange County. People don't necessarily love them, but you're still talking about them. And at the end of the day, this is a reality show. That's what they're aiming for. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. But going back to Monique for a second, Giselle did try to allegedly bring this whole paternity cheating rumor, all of this to the producers to run this as a storyline. Why do you feel like the producers were like, we're not touching this?
Because, Adam, it was dangerous. It was dangerous. The show at one point had some unspoken rules. And one of the rules is that you don't come for children. You don't. So with those rumors, including the paternity of Monique's child, her youngest child, it was something that most people, whether it's producers or not, would say, oh, look, I don't know about that, and also, the trainer and Gigi's, evilness. It's just like something that you just don't want to touch. It's just something that you just don't want to touch, especially from the producer's standpoint. Like, it's just too nasty. You're ripping and destroying a family. Who I mean, why would we do that? Why would we bring that to TV?
Right. Especially because once you, just like this and us sitting here talking about this, had this never been a conversation, this wouldn't even be swirling. But unfortunately, even though the producers made the conscious decision of not bringing this to TV, it's still been put out there. And now they have, as a family, they have to deal with this.
And, the thing about it is that Candace, of all people, she can't stand Monique. She hates Monique. She brought the plot that they tried to do to life. She let us in on her live. She let us know that they were plotting after Andy's baby shower. Candace, can you believe it? Out of all people, she exposed the plot. So for Giselle to act like she doesn't know, for Robin to act like she doesn't know, now that's baffling. Honey, Candace exposed you guys. Monique didn't do it first. Monique reacted way, way, way after. Candace exposed the plot scheme on her live. And it's still on record. It's on YouTube. It's everywhere. She exposed you guys.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. I'll send it to you. It was the same live that she wished my friend on. It was that same live. That's why I can't forget it. I can't forget it. She exposed a lot, including the plot, which is why Giselle, okay, I'm gonna reserve my.
No. That's fair. I didn't know that she said that, that makes a lot of sense. We're sitting there, and speaking of Candace, I know we have to touch this with kid clubs, and now 1,200 in the room. So guys, hit that like button. Let's get more. But yeah. As we move on and we're talking about Candace, I just find it kind of interesting, the fact that Candace was going on, and listen, Candace is in a new movie on BET. She talks about her acting career, her singing career. She's on reality TV. She loves the entertainment world. And a lot of people are calling out for her being an actress with these tears that are streaming down her face. But then Giselle made a point that I actually agree with too. You can't tell somebody how to feel when they go through a situation where they're dragged, humiliated, embarrassed. She kind of looks all distorted after Monique got her hands on her. You can't tell Candace how to feel, right? We can't take that from her. Right. But the one thing that I just find a little bit hypocritical is that she goes on and she's attacking Monique as if saying that Monique kind of led this whole social media bullying and bashing of Candace, when realistically Candace does the same thing, but to other parties. Right.
She's even doing it to Portia.
Right. And we're just talked about this on the reunion. How do you go and do that? Like, and Portia didn't say anything bad. All Portia said was, you know, Portia's been in similar situations where she's been on camera. She's gotten to that point. And, you know, unfortunately, things happen. People make mistakes. You don't have to just run straight to the courts with it. You can try to resolve this in some way. But, I mean, that's all Portia said from experience. Go ahead.
Let me just say this. Candace, I'm talking to you one-on-one. Andy told you, the more you stay off Twitter, the better your life would be. You have come for people's necks like nobody's business. Portia, you coming for Portia? I would tread lightly, miss. Okay, Adam, I'm sorry.
I said the same thing. I feel like Portia, she's a vet. She's also on a higher tier than Candace is in the Bravo sphere, this whole, you know, world with NBC. Candace, I don't know where she stands with Bravo anymore as a business. I'm curious to see how this plays out for the next season. I know Andy Cohen did say that he really likes this group of ladies, that he enjoys them, but also, you know, like I said to you last time, this is a business. And when you start coming out with different slurs or different things, we've seen it 2020, other Bravo celebrities are being held accountable and they lose their jobs. So we're just curious to see what happens with Candace. But one thing I did notice in this episode is that Andy didn't really let up on Monique. And I have my theories about that, but I wanted to ask you if you felt like Andy went really hard in on Monique this episode.
I can't say that he went like hard in, quote unquote, but I will say that I guess he sort of went hard, but that's what you have to expect as him coming from a boss position. Like if I got into a fight at my job, and let's just say that my boss, you know, chose to keep me around or whatever, his energy towards me will be a little heavier, you know, because of that situation. So it's kind of something that it's par for the course. You know, you gotta expect that from him being a boss, like to be in Monique's her business, you know, so to speak, like to just put the heat on her up a little bit because of what had transpired. He has to make sure that she, you know, takes some accountability, and he has to make sure that it doesn't happen again. So that to me is, it wasn't, I don't know. I don't feel like he really gave her, like, I don't know. I just felt like it was almost like a natural progression. Like I just felt like that was something that naturally happened because of the fight. I don't feel like he was giving her heat and it was too much. I just felt like he had to kind of do that for the situation at hand.
Right. And I kind of agree with you. I'm going to give you my theory here in a second. Tom Tim Entertainment, thank you so much for the super sticker, said, Wendy kept it cute on Watch What Happens Live and low-key defended Monique and threw slight shade towards Candace about her crying. I think a lot of people kind of did because, again, like Giselle said, you can't take how she feels away from her. But it seems with her actress background, with the sticky notes and the always having a tissue and just kind of, I don't know. I think everybody has their thoughts and feelings towards that. But with this situation with Monique, I was sitting here watching it with my fiance and we're both talking about this. And I think that Andy can't let Monique go with a slap on the wrist and bring her back next season because that looks like he's favoring her. So I think that he really needed to, in this situation, kind of hold stern and be like,
yes,
what are you doing? Like, give us something, give us a reason so we can explain why we are bringing you back next season. Are you sorry? Why are you so stoic? What are you feeling? Because it seems like you just have no emotion. But Monique's reaction, I thought it was perfect. She's like, listen, I've had a year to process these feelings. You guys weren't around for that. I've been through it. I've felt it. I've kind of been through the motions, and this is where I stand today.
Yes.
I'm not so concerned as to, how Candace is feeling anymore. I'm more concerned as to how I let this situation get me to the place where I put my hands on her.
Right. Right. And
I like that answer.
Yeah, and how did that moment happen? I loved how Monique handled herself during this reunion. And, like you said, Andy, he had to hold stern, and that was for a reason, because if she comes back next season, it has to be shown from the boss that he held her to to some sort of accountability,
Right.
So
Okay. All right. Well, I guess before we go, I want to talk about what we have to look forward to next week. This is blowing my mind, guys. 1,400 in the room now. Go ahead, hit that like button. Next week, we have the husbands who are coming into the room. Obviously, Candace has to come back into the room and kind of face everything. We see her yelling across now that she has her husband sitting behind her at Monique. So she's still kind of there. I don't want to say she's provoking her, but she's still kind of jumping in there and not minding what she says to Monique. She is allowed to feel her feelings. She has a lot of anger towards Monique, and she's letting it show. Are you most excited for the third part because the husbands are coming in?
Absolutely.
I just can't wait to see what Chris has to say. Not Chris Bassett, but Chris Samuels, because this really just revolves around the wives. Unless you're Michael Darby, then Michael Darby is an honorary Real Housewife of Potomac because he does carry a lot of the storylines. Yeah. But for Chris, this man is usually pretty relaxed. He has his wife's back. He has his own job that he cares about. Like they said, he has a portfolio of different investments and stuff. So this is a busy man, right? But now when you start talking about the paternity of his baby and his family, he has something to say.
Absolutely. You keep people's kids out of your mess as adults. You don't bring kids into the mess as adults. And for them to say that their baby is not Chris's, that is so hurtful. That is so hurtful. That is so evil, mean, all of the above. You don't do that. Yes, any parent, after hearing something like that, would be rattled. Any parent would be bothered. Any parent, that strikes a chord deep, deep, deep within. I would be furious as well. But I really feel like this third part will definitely be the most heated we've ever seen from husbands on any of the Real Housewives franchises. Like, this is going to be so heated, and rightfully so.
Okay. And someone did say too, thank you for the super sticker. Too many of you are too simple to understand the liability that is Monique. Bravo has to pay insurance premiums and it will be increased because of her. I wouldn't necessarily say that we're simple-minded. I would say that all of these things come into play when they negotiate new contracts. And if she were to be costing them any sort of insurance premiums, or those premiums were to go up, I'm sure that they would factor that into her contract, as opposed to just letting her go and not having any sort of resolve for us as a viewer wanting to know what does the future look like for her. So I don't know if I would use the word simple-minded.
I mean, simple-minded, the person who made that comment, don't forget that this is not the first time this has happened on Bravo, okay? The Married to Medicine ladies first season, they fought by the poolside. Also, Portia had a moment with Kenya. We've seen this before. Maybe not to the, well, no, actually, yeah, we've seen this before. So let's just keep that in mind. The show must go on.
That's true. And somebody else said, thank you for the super sticker. It cannot be the first time Candace has gotten dragged over her mouth. Her mouth wrote a check her can't cash. Well, that's technically true, Tammy, only because Mama Dorothy has clocked Candace a few times. Just to be fair, Mama Dorothy has come through and she always says, though, she's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Candace's face ran into my purse. It's like, okay, that doesn't make it better. But then also Mama Dorothy was one of the first ones to kind of push Candace in the legal direction. And nobody pressed any charges on Mama Dorothy. I just want to say that.
Right, that's true. No,
But
Mama Dorothy did. She hit her upside the head with her purse.
she did do that.
She said
Well,
disrespectful.
RJ, we were kind of rounding out to our hour. We hit 55 minutes. This conversation goes by so fast with you. And again, this was another great recap on the Real Housewives of Potomac. I can't wait for part 3. Are you down for next week?
Come on.
Okay.
And do you have to ask?
I love that. And don't forget, too, I mentioned to RJ, because so many of you guys are responding well to the conversation. You guys like us kind of talking about this together, especially because RJ has some insight on the Real Housewives of Potomac. However, I did ask him, once this is over after next week, if he would be wanting or willing to jump on and talk about the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Now, he's not necessarily watching right now, but we're only 3 episodes in. You have time to catch up.
Yeah.
We are still in quarantine in some capacity, and you're snowed in up there. You can spare 3 hours.
That's true. Yeah, I got to catch up because if I have to watch this show just to come back and have commentary with you, I will do it.
Wow. We'll keep you around, RJ.
Yes.
All right. And RJ, real quick before we let you go, again, guys, if you haven't, hit that like button, show some love. But RJ, can you let us know where we can find you, please?
Yes, guys, go on Instagram. Instagram me, and my Instagram name is RJ.Allan. So RJ.ALLAN. Follow me.
Yep. And guys, I also put that in the description of this video. And if you didn't catch that, you can just look under RJ's face. It says @RJ.Allan. So go show him some love. Find him on Instagram. He's also the operator of the Black Socialites. So again, like last time, this was a pleasure. I appreciate you, RJ.
This is love. Thank you, Adam.
All right. We'll see you next time.